Thank you so much for joining us. This is Back to the Roost with Coach Dahl and Eric. I'm Eric, the letter of the name. We probably should have done that a little bit better, but I'm Eric. And joining me this week, as always, with this show, the creator of this show, Justin Dahl. Coach Dahl, how are you doing this week?
Man, I am so pumped up. I am super pumped up for the show because the show got some awesome news, Eric. You did a great job as kind of the general manager and the producer of both of our shows, um, and what we do. You did something so in the short creation of our show. You did something great. I'm gonna let you share the news with it, but I am so pumped up um, for you and for Shauna. I'm a little hurt for me, but I'll get over it because I'll hit it next year, Eric.
All right. So without further ado, a huge announcement, a huge announcement for the sake of this show and the sake of our uh, content network or podcast network or whatever you want to call it. We will be attending girls high school basketball state tournament in Green Bay this weekend as credentialed media members. Huge shout out. I cannot say enough to Todd Clark, the director of communications for the WIAA, for giving us this opportunity to spotlight local athletics, especially here in Northeast Wisconsin, and give it our unique take. Where we do, we're trying to make ourselves a little bit of a name, and at the same time, trying to get the world of high school sports in an area that truthfully probably doesn't get the coverage that it should.
Yeah,
That being
that
Northeast
is.
Wisconsin, where yes, you have the high school, the TV shows for the bigger schools, but doesn't necessarily have that small school flavor to it per se. That Justin and myself and Sean and Shauna and Ramsey can all bring with the Root for Wisconsin network. So this weekend, Shauna and I will be attending the girls' state tournament in Green Bay, or state tournament or semifinals and championships. Likely be there Friday night and Saturday. So if you see me or Shauna, say hey. We are going to be working, um, technically, but huge opportunity for this show. I am beyond pumped. I'm beyond, I guess, even shocked. I did not expect um, to do this. It's a huge validation for the work that we've done, and even in the 4 episodes that we've done for this show now, um, to
Yeah.
be kind of in that same category with USA Today and all the different TV outlets that are across the state of Wisconsin. So again, huge honor. Thank you to the WIAA, and I cannot wait to take a different lens on this state tournament. I love going to watch the state girls tournament in Green Bay. It's a very well done tournament in the sense of Green Bay is an excellent host for it. The restaurant is an excellent venue for it,
Mhm.
and getting to take a little bit of a different perspective instead of just going and shooting the bull with the guys and talking between games and wishing we had a different kind of drink that's not available at the arena during
We're just
those.
we're just running down to the GBD and then
Right.
at section break and then coming back.
But all in all, again, just so excited for this opportunity, and really kind of seeing what doors this opens for us professionally as we try to grow our brand and our show, and hope the big picture as well. And I don't want to get lost from this either. I know we've talked a lot about the show itself, but getting to spotlight a lot of these local teams, which there's a
Hmm.
lot of Northeast Wisconsin flavor in this girls' state tournament. So with I think that's a perfect transition, Justin, to kind of
Great.
previewing this year's tournament, and talking about the local teams here that we get the privilege to watch over the weekend and see their hard efforts, hopefully for them come to fruition.
Yeah, so we're gonna start with girls state basketball. Just a lot of basketball going on right now, Eric, which is great. Unfortunately, we just watched our Badgers get pummeled by Ohio State, so we might not watch college basketball. Hopefully, UWGB women's team gets a bid somewhere. What do you think on that, real quick?
Real quick before, well, they're guaranteed a WNIT at worst because they were the regular season conference champions. I am holding out some hope as a fan that they may sneak an at-large bid. Their resume speaks a lot for itself, where they were 65th in net ranking. They lost to a very good Cleveland State team that they had beaten twice. Um, so I'm holding out a little bit of hope as a fan that the committee will kind of give them the nod. You know, I've talked to Sean on our main show about this, and we've talked about this, and it's always interesting to see what any given committee is going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because some years you'll get the years where some of those blue bloods that maybe don't deserve it get in just because of the namesake.
Mm-hmm.
So back on the men's side, you think of years where Syracuse has gotten in. Kind of looking at the women's bracketology, Marquette's kind of one of those teams that's last four in, first four out. Does a Marquette get in instead of a Green Bay, or does Green Bay kind of had that mid-major cachet to sneak in as an at-large bid? Because they've beaten Power Five teams this year. They've beaten and played with some of the biggest in the country. They've lost, I believe this was their fifth loss in the year. Two of those
Mm-hmm.
technically being in conference, or three of those in conference, one to Milwaukee, one to Youngstown State, who was another great mid-major team, and then the loss to Cleveland State, who's obviously getting the automatic bid. Their other loss on the year, or one of their other losses on the year, came to Florida, a Power 5 SEC school, and that was, for most of that game, pretty close. So I
Early on in the year, right?
early on in the year, and Thanksgiving, I believe it was Thanksgiving Day, where they had that game. So all in all, I mean, I think they've gotten the resume to do it. You're in the hands of the committee now, and that's where it's kind of rough to be in. You hope that you're not in that position. You hope you get that automatic bid, and you're not waiting with bated breath for selection Sunday. But the reality of the situation is that's they didn't win that tournament game. So at worst, look at an NIT bid. Hope and if that's the case, then you're hoping for a home game at the Crest
Yeah.
and make somewhat of a run. Because for a mid-major, I mean, you can kind of look at it, and there's a lot of programs out there, both men and women's, who get that NIT bid, and you're not necessarily thrilled about it. Green Bay's kind of come up short where they haven't even gotten the NIT bid the last few years, and has chosen to not play in like a WCBI or CIT, which
Mm-hmm.
they do now. Um, So you're just kind of hoping and seeing, at the very least, maybe you'll be rewarded with that first home game, or maybe even that first couple rounds run through Green Bay in the WNIT. I mean, again, they've got that cachet, and again, they were a great team. They had very good defense. They were, spotty offensively. They had lost some crucial girls throughout the year between injuries and just, talking about the elephant in the room, Haley Oski leaving the team in December. Um, but it was always next woman up. They played very well all season. So you like I said, you kind of hope for and see what's going to happen. And
Yeah.
either way, that more March basketball is happening. You're wondering where.
Hopefully in the big dance. Hopefully in the big dance, Eric.
Yeah, hopefully. But if it's not meant to be, hopefully we're sitting at the crest. Or well, hopefully Joe Doderick is sitting at the crest. I'm sitting in the studio at the Fan, and we're doing some WNIT games. And let's make a run there. Let's get Green Bay back in the echelon of college basketball.
All right, Eric. We're gonna start with the big dog, the state championships this weekend at the Rush Center in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I'm excited for it. Are you excited for it?
I am beyond excited for it. Again, I cannot say enough about the venue of the Resch Center, and you kind of talk about some of those Green Bay men's teams that have that, they played next door, or what used to be next door, I should say, at this point, in the Brown County Arena, and then even the men's team now playing in the Resch Center. You look at some of those bigger games, like when Wisconsin came through and Green Bay beat them in the snowstorm, or when Kiefer Sykes almost dunked over Frank Kaminsky, or the win over Virginia. You have those memories. It's the same city, the same logo as I'll say it, the premier college team in the state for women's basketball. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that doesn't get talked about enough for why this is in Green Bay every year. I think it's a very Northeast Wisconsin does a great job representing year in, year out for teams getting to state. But it's also very fitting that that runs through Green Bay, much like the state of college basketball in the state of Wisconsin.
Hmm. So with that said, Eric, we're going to start in D1. We've got a
Okay.
Northeast Wisconsin representative. Um, we'll just quickly go through the seeds. It'll be number 1, Brookfield East, versus number 4, Germantown. For those that aren't familiar with how this works, these coaches, after sectional finals on Saturday, they all are interchanged into a call by the WIAA, and they seed it themselves, I believe. Um, of course, computer seeding is come after my time has been out of, so I'm not entirely sure. It might be computer seeding for state. With that said, obviously, as we say on every episode, all the information that we get here, Eric, comes off of wisports.net. It's a great website. A lot of this information today that I'm going to tell you or go through, the numbers, the stats, um, come from Norbert Durst at Wisports. Does a great job. Love Norbert Durst's work. So just want to give them a shout out. So we are at what did I say? Brookfield East is the number 1 seed. Germantown is the number 4 seed. If you're not familiar with Germantown, they have a young lady, KK Arnold. Um, she is essentially the number 1 player in the state, Eric. She is committed to UConn. She will hopefully be a good watch for some young fans that are in attendance, and some young fans that will be watching um, on TV. Our local team will be Hortonville as the number 2 seed, and the
Big upset there.
defending. Yeah, yeah, they beat Nina in the sectional final. Um, and honestly, I watched most of that game. That game was happening while Leona Wabino game was happening. That game wasn't even close, to be honest with you. Hortonville ran out right away, and as hard as Nina and Coach Brunell tried to kind of race themselves back into it, Hortonville just could not be denied in that game. Did a great job by Coach AC Clothier, his first year at Hortonville. 25-3, a career record, Eric, at the high school level. He's led Xavier to state a couple times. His career record is 86-22. This dude knows how to win, right? They finished the season in the Wisconsin Sports or WisSportsNet coaches poll at number 5, and they ended up getting the 2 seed here. So they made it in 18. They made state appearances in 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. So coach, the previous coach, Celeste Haybush, did a great job. Famous for her last game at Hortonville with a call, and ironically, with our interviewee in that game with a ref's decision, but they beat Wausau West 69-41 in the regional semi, or in the sectional semi, and Nina 71-54 in the sectional final, and that game was at Appleton North. Um, they are led. This is incredible. Uh, Rainey Wilson, she's a 5'9" sophomore, Eric. Um, D1 prospect. She's averaging 19 points per game on a D1 basketball team. She's darn good. Um, Trinity Mikado, um, she's going to D2 Lynn University. She is a senior. But on top of this, they have a UW, I believe Milwaukee. If I just look here
Mm.
again, yeah, a UW Milwaukee recruit, in Callie Pepler. She's a junior, Eric, um, and she was only averaging 14 points a game. Yeah, I- you're talking about a team that loses a girl,
Chipping
Callie
in.
Pepler.
She's chipping in.
I believe she tore her ACL. Um, the job that Coach AC Clothier has done with this team um, speaks for itself. This dude can coach. He's a great coach. And they have, and this is to me, Eric, this is the shocker of the whole thing, right? Like we're gonna go through our divisions here, and we're gonna talk about seeds and how this boiled out. You have the defending state champions, Kettle Moraine, um, and they're 26-1. Eric, 26-1, defending state champions. They finished the coaches poll at number one in the state, and they get the 3 seed at state. This stuff does the, they got Grace Krochowski. She's a West Virginia recruit. Um, Braylon Torres is going to Northern Michigan. They are a loaded team too. This is going to be a great game to kick off state. I'm excited for that session. To me, I don't. This is a real true toss up. My heart says I want to go with Hortonville as the Northeast Wisconsin. But how do you pick against the defending state champions? They've been here. They did it last year. They know how to do it. Um, so I honestly think that Kettle Moraine is going to come out of this whole thing and they're going to win it. So I don't know if you got anything to add to that because this thing is loaded, Eric. I mean, you got
Yeah,
a
this
UConn commit, you got a West Virginia commit, you've got Hortonville's got commits all over the place. Brookfield East is good. Like
yeah,
you got to
this
watch
is one
this.
of the, this is truly a win-win for the fans of basketball and getting to watch these teams. Now, I got to say, Hortonville has missed state the last couple years, but they are very familiar with that Resch Center atmosphere and don't be fooled. I mean, these girls, they network, they talk to, some of those older teammates. They may not have played there themselves, but they know people who have. So I'm gonna kind of give the nod. I'm leaning Hortonville. They played in that great conference and had to play a very good
Mm-hmm.
Nina team 3 times. And as I
Mm-hmm.
said with Green Bay just a few minutes ago, it it's tough to beat a team 3 times, and we saw that happen and come to fruition. And they're peaking at the right time. They are a very balanced program. And again, you have a new head coach, you have a new, obviously a new roster every year, but you have a school that has done it and has done it before. I say that as, the ironically as they play the defending champion. Um,
Yeah.
but either way, like I said, it's a win-win situation. It's going to be great basketball. Um, all the way around. So that one is going to be an exciting watch. I'm going to give the nod to Hortonville just as the local team. Um, Something tells me that that they're due for one, and getting past the giant in Nina. I always kind of look at storylines and did they the team that finally slayed the giant. They got
Mm-hmm.
past the biggest hump in the mountain. Let's keep riding that rain and let's go.
Hey, and it's hard to pick against a team whose school mascot there's a polar bears, Eric. How do you pick
Yeah.
against a polar bear?
I wouldn't mess with the polar bear. I don't know what the other
Right.
mask. I know that Germantown's the Eagles. I don't know what Kettle Moraine or Brookfield East is, but I wouldn't mess with the polar bear.
No.
I can tell you that right now.
Stands cold and it's a bear. Anyways. All right, moving on to D2. Moving on to D2. This one is interesting too, Eric. Uh, a loaded class here. You've got number one Pewaukee at 27-1. They're going to take on Lakeland, the number 4 seed Lakeland, 22-6. Lakeland has um, Juliana Omet, the coach's daughter. She has another daughter on the team, but Juliana is going to Lehigh. I'm just looking here. Pewaukee has a freshman, Giselle Jankowski, or Janowski. I'm sorry, Janowski, the brother of Nick, or the sister of Nick Janowski, who we covered on the show when they played De Pere on the boys' side. She's a freshman. She holds D1 offers. She, incredible, incredible. That's going to be a good game. I truly don't think um, it's going to be as close as we can get. I think Pewaukee walks away with it a little bit at the end of the game, and I think it'll be good. Juliana Olmed is. I watched Lakeland versus Menominee in the sectional final game, and that was a great game. I believe that game was at Medford. Crazy Jim. Great game that came down to the last seconds. She is a fun watch, a tallish point guard for a girls basketball game. So um, exciting. So Pewaukee they finished the season at number 2. They made it to state last year. If you remember, they lost to Notre Dame at state, um, which it's almost as if there was a little bit of collusion with these coaches in setting up what they wanted to end up being what was going to be the state championship game, because the number 2 seed in Division 2 is Notre Dame at 27-1, who finished the coaches poll at number 1 in the state. Now listen to this, Eric. Since 2012, they've been to state in 2012, 2013, 2014, 2016, 2021, and 2022. They've won 4 state titles in that time, in 13, 14, 21, and 22. They're looking for the three-peat. They are led by Gracie Gresh. She's a Wisconsin recruit. Trista Feda. Um, they have a sophomore in Peyton Musial. She's got D1 offers. Hope Barrington is going to Oshkosh. Uh, they're loaded. Coach Sarah Rhodey, she's in her 12th year. Now, we were talking about records, Eric. I want you to brace yourself for this. We
All
were
right.
talking about in 12 years. Get your little calculator out.
Hold on.
In 12 years, Eric, she is 257 and 63. She's averaging over 20 wins a year.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's 20.
At the high
Mathematics
school,
speaking, Justin, that's 26 wins a year. Rounding up to
unbelievable.
27.
That is unbelievable coaching acumen. She's a former UWGB player. I don't remember what her maiden name was. Do you?
What's her name?
Her name now is Sarah Rhodey, but I don't remember what her maiden name is.
I will look that up. Why don't you keep talking?
Okay, let's do that. They take on a McFarland team that is
Sarah Boyer.
26. Yeah, there it
That was
is.
a lot easier than I expected it to be.
Yeah. They take on a McFarland team that's 26-2. Um, they are what looks like to be an up and coming team. They've got a junior in Tegan Malegny. I'm sorry, I butchered that name.
I was in Malegny.
Malegny. Okay. Well, thank you, Eric.
I was
This.
looking into them as well as we're kind of going through. So I did my homework.
All right. All right.
This
She's averaging 24 points a game, 24 and a half points a game. All right.
Justin, I'm gonna cut you off here just because I just gotta say this. If you look her up on With Sports, it's almost probably easier to tell you what schools haven't offered her a scholarship.
Really?
She has not committed to one or the other. Let me go through this list here real quick for you, Justin. And this is a long list.
Okay.
She has offers from the University of Oregon, University of North Carolina, University of Alabama, University of Miami, Ohio State University, Michigan State University, University of West Virginia, University of Iowa, Iowa State University, Belmont University, University of Minnesota, University of Wisconsin Green Bay, Princeton University, Marquette University, University of St. Thomas, Drake University, University of Kansas, Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis, IUPUI. I'm not done yet. St. Louis University, California Baptist University, University of Wisconsin-Madison, Kansas State University, Penn State University, and Central Michigan University. Has interest from even more schools than just beyond those.
That's an incredible list, Eric. That
These are
is an
schools that
incredible
haven't
list.
offered her yet, but have thrown interest her way. University of Connecticut, University of Colorado, Wake Forest University, Boston College, Boston University, St. John's University, University of Washington, University of South Dakota, Kent State University, Quinnipiac University, Dartmouth College, Rutgers University, University of Albany, Butler University, University of Illinois, University of Missouri, University of Maryland, Utah State University, Davidson College, Arizona State University, University of Michigan. I'm sick of saying university, but I got to keep going because there's several more yet. Loyola University of Chicago,
Oh
University of
my God.
Oklahoma, University of Nebraska, Siena College, Purdue University, Fort Wayne, DePaul University, University of Baylor, Columbia University, Oregon State University, Northwestern University, UCLA, Gonzaga University, Ball State University, Duke University, and the University of Louisville.
That is unbelievable. Yeah, that is unbelievable. So she will be a fun watch. Um, I believe that kicks off. I don't know. When does that kick off, Eric?
Hold on.
I got it. I got you right here. 3:45 p.m. on Friday. Um, they tip off against Notre Dame roughly.
That's correct.
That's gonna be a good. That's gonna be a darn good game. I'm excited for that one. McFarland. I wish I would knew what their mascot was.
I believe they are a Spartan or a Triton from what I've seen on Wii Sports. They've kind of got like the Michigan State look, the same
Well,
kind of.
if they're the Tritons, it'll be the Tritons versus the Tritons.
I'm
They got
gonna say it's a Spartans,
they got to
but
be the
I
Spartans.
don't have that
In
official.
our hearts, Eric, they're the Spartans because, in essence, this is going to be a state championship matchup repeat, and it ain't going to be any different. It's going to be Notre Dame over Pewaukee. Notre Dame wins their third consecutive Division II state championship.
I'm also picking Notre Dame, but after reading that list and how many schools I said and how many times I said university, which if I don't say it the rest of the show, that'll be great. Um, it's going to be a great, all three games of the Division Two, and same thing with Division One. I guess I'm going to kind of cop out answer here, but really every game that's going to happen at the Resch Center this weekend. First of all, credit to the kids for getting there. Obviously they've worked their tails off to get there. Huge shout out. These should all be good games. I think I'm most excited for this one now after reading everything there.
Mhm.
Shout out to Marcus Eversol, my cohort at WDUZ. He's a McFarland graduate. So shout out to McFarland there. Little Northeast Wisconsin tie if you need one.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe he'll
Um,
be there with his. Oh no, he just had a baby, didn't he? Congratulations,
well, his
Marcus.
wife did.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Callan James Eversol.
Congratulations, Marcus.
Congrats. But at the end of the day, Justin, I'm thinking you're going to be right. I think it's going to be Notre Dame. I'm surprised they got the 2 seed instead of the 1 seed. I think you're right. There might be a little bit of quote unquote collusion, or the computer even is ahead of us on this if that's how they seed it.
Hmm.
They were the number one team in the state all year long. They score at will. They're fast. They score a lot of points. I don't know if McFarland's going to be able to keep up with them, and I don't know if any other school will be either.
Notre Dame's just, I mean, 26 wins a year, 27 wins a year, Eric. How do you, I
26,
can't even,
six,
I can't
six.
even,
Peter.
I can't even fathom that. Wow.
I don't even know most high schools play that many games a year. But
Right. Right. All
also,
right.
while we're here, just real quick, shout out to Allie LeClaire and her fiance AJ Alexander, former boys coach at uh, at Notre Dame for a couple years there. Good friends of mine during college. They're getting married in the next couple months here as well. So shout out to them here as well.
Well, happy future wedding day, Ellie Leclerc and AJ Alexander.
All right, go ahead, Justin. Division Three.
Division 3. So here we go. This is another fun one, Eric. We've got Waupun, the Waupun Warriors, the defending state championship champions in Division 3. They were 21-7 in their one seed, Eric. They were co-champions of the East Central Conference. Their co-champion share was with the team Kewaskum. Keep those keep that name in mind. That will come up a little later. They finished the final coaches poll at number 8. I just told you they're the defending state champions in 2022. Um, their top players are Kale Peterson. She's going to Marquette. She's only a junior, averaging 20.6 a game. Um, Lydia Alsma, coach's daughter. She was a factor for the state championship team last year. I think she came off the bench, if I remember correctly. She already holds D1 offers, averaging 14 a game. Gracie Goplin holds 2 D2 offers. Um, you know, 21-7 as the 1 seed. They'll play Milwaukee Academy of Sciences. This is another team, I believe, that made it there last year. Um, no, they made it in 2019. They finished the coaches poll at 7. They're 22-3. They're an independent school, Eric. They have a D1 prospect in Lalani Ellis, another D1 prospect in beautiful Wahid. Um,
That's the
and
name for our listeners.
yeah,
Gotta
and they're young. They're a young team. These 2 seniors are the D1 prospects. They're big time scorers. One's 21 points a game and the other's 19.8 points a game. So that's where most of their offense comes from on a team that averages 66 points a game. So over 2/3 comes from those 2 players. Um,
Yeah,
so
the walking double double, beautiful Wahid. She also is averaging about 12.7 boards per game.
yeah, unbelievable. Well, how tall is she? She's 5'10", Eric. That's a pretty big numbers for only a 5'10" um basketball player, 19 and 12 a game. So
Well,
should be
just
an interesting watch.
as I've learned from another shout out to a Green Bay uh, student of mine and friend of mine, Jessica Lindstrom, rebounding is mentality.
That's right. Position. Position, Eric. All
Let's
right,
go.
in the second semifinal of Division 3, you have West Salem at 26-2. They're the number 2 seed against Kewaskum, 22-5. That game happens at 3:45 on Thursday. Um, West Salem, the Cooley Conference champion. Um, they finished the regular season coaches poll at number 10. It's their first trip since '97. Eric, um,
Led by
they
sophomore Megan Johnson, scoring at 14.6 games or 14.6 points per game, and also led by 13.2 points from senior Anna McConkey. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
McConkey. And then another
Yeah,
13 points coming in from Sarah Niemeyer, who is also a sophomore.
West Salem. What West Salem's got things rolling in their athletic department. Their boys team's going to come up here in a little bit. I believe they won state on the boys side last year. And the number 3 seed. This team is a lot to talk about. They beat my favorite, and I think everybody's favorite, um, in Freedom, but they finished the regular season unranked. They were preseason ranked 3, so it's not like they came out of the woodwork. But Kewaskum was 22-5, and they shared the conference with Waupun. Their win streak is currently 12. Uh, what must have happened early on in the year, Eric, is it's a first year head coach um, for this school. His overall coaching record is 390 and 155.
Wow.
Yeah, really good. Kewaskum is making their first appearance at state since 1982, Eric. Uh, that number is going to come up a little later for one of our local area teams.
Shout out to my mom. That's year she graduated high school.
Mm. Shout out to Mama Fish.
Shout out Mama Fish. Kewaskum, while we're talking about them, led by Madeline Dogs, probably one of the better names in the tournament. Uh,
Hell yeah.
She is a commit to NJIT, the New Jersey Institute of Technology, Division One school out east. So she leads the way for Kewaskum with 14.7. Also chipping in, we got Morgan Adams at 10.3 points per game, the senior who is committed to or has an offer from Lake Superior State, Division Two.
Yeah.
Just
That
glad that
leads
U
us.
not in here.
What?
I'm just glad the
That,
U word's not in that list.
oh, yeah. That leads us now to Division O. We got to pick it, don't we, Eric?
We do, and I already forgot who's. But I'm gonna go with Pond.
You're going to go
Yeah,
upon to repeat.
yeah, I'm gonna go with the repeating.
That is an interesting choice. Eric, I am going to shock the world. I'm going with West Salem over Waupun in the championship game.
That's not a bad pick. Looking at them, and you kind of talk about athletic programs, kind of getting it together as a school, a team that you talk about the boys having that success and getting back there, hopefully again this year and from last year. So not a bad pick. I gotta say, while we're talking about Division Three, apparently my brilliant Lions did not end up making it.
You
I don't.
jinxed them, Eric.
I First of all, we're not gonna have that discussion on this show. The jinx
You're the jinx, Eric.
that is false. Um, so I want it very clear as my with my picks and my attendance of these games. I am not a jinx. Call it like I see it, and
Here, man.
that's why you play the game, Justin.
You
Any
play it
given Sunday.
one bucket at a time, buddy. One bucket at a time.
All right, Division Four.
We're moving on to Division 4. The number one seed, and this seems to be an every year thing, Eric. This is their sixth state appearance. They finished the regular season coaches poll. The number one seed, La Crosse Aquinas, at 27-1. Eric, I want to throw out another number at you.
Let's hear it.
Dave Donarski, their head coach, his ninth year, Eric, 217-20. Unbelievable, just unbelievable. So this, like I said, this is their sixth state appearance. Um, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021 with state championships in 2018 and 2019. His top player is his daughter, Macy Donarski. She's a D1 Montana commit. I'm stealing your thunder, Eric. This is your section. This
Yeah,
is what you do.
whatever.
I am sorry, my friend.
It is what it is.
But they play our Northeastern Wisconsin team that climbed the mountain, Eric. The Michigan Indians at 21-6. This game will take place at 6:35 on Thursday night. Um, you know, they they had a great run. They finished the regular season unranked. They finished second in the Big East North. They beat the team that won their conference, St. Mary's, in the sectional final. Um, they played. I mean, they beat Bondwell in the sectional semifinal, 42 to
They
40.
beat Cuba City in the sectional final.
I'm talking about Michigan, buddy.
Oh, sorry. Forgot we
Okay,
switched up. Go ahead.
yeah. So
You got me
this
all
is their.
razzled. You took my thunder. I'm trying to
I'm
contribute.
I'm sorry, my friend. I'm sorry. So Coach Mike Garsal, his eighth year, he's 146-50. He's really done a great job at this program and built it up. This is their third state appearance, 2020, 2021, with the state title in 2021. Um, just a couple of great players. Not a team that's going to wow you with athleticism, but if you want to go through some of their players, Eric, you go right ahead.
I'd be happy to. First, we're gonna start off. Oh gosh, I'm gonna go Kaylee Talachka.
You did really
The
good. That's their name.
Thank you. The senior who has a commitment to Division Three Eau Claire. So staying home in the state of Wisconsin, also getting contribution. She's averaging 14.2 a game. Julie Keppel, I think,
Yep.
13.4 game for her, where she, if my thing will load, she's a junior at 5'10 who puts the ball in the hoop as well. Also, while we're talking about her, 9.5 boards per game, so almost a walking double-double as well. And then for what it's worth, Kaylee Talachka as well, 6.8 boards per game. So both of them getting it done on all fronts. Um, just kind of one of those, you talk about you got to climb the mountain and get to Everest at some point. If you want to be a champion, you got to play them all, beat them all. So kind of going in against that top team and
Yeah.
got to knock them off eventually if you want to win a championship. Why not day one? Um, not making my picks here, but tough draw to start with. But for a local team, why not? Let's go.
Yeah, that. So I just want to touch base on this sectional final game because this was unbelievable. I watched from start to finish. We're going in the final seconds here. Um, Mishkat was up by 3 over St. Mary's. Uh, it's 56-53. They're dribbling the ball out to end the game. Their sideline goes crazy, Eric. They're going crazy. It's 2 seconds, 1 second. All of a sudden, the whistle blows and it stops the clock. The referee, because the ball was being dribbled close to Mishakat's sideline, blows the whistle. Technical foul on Mishakat with
Wow.
point 0.8 seconds left. So so St. Mary's gets free throws, hits both free throws. It's now 56-55. It's St. Mary's ball going out on the sideline. We've got a timeout. St. Mary's draws up a play. Referee hands St. Mary's the ball for the side out. 5-second call.
Oh,
Gets 5-second call.
I
And
knew the outcome, and you still got me.
and the coach had a timeout yet in his pocket. So after another timeout, it's Mishakat's ball. Mishakat throws the ball in just to touch it and run the clock out. The refs blow the whistle again, as in there was a foul. The refs huddle up, talk about it, decide that if the ball is touched, there's no time left on the clock, blow the game off.
With point
Mishakat
eight.
wins. Yep. So
Wow,
Mishakat wins and goes to state.
that is that's a
It's an
trip. That's a
ending.
roller coaster.
That is an ending we had to talk about here, Eric, because it was unbelievable to watch on the same screen I'm looking at your beautiful mug at.
Wow, I went through a roller coaster of emotions there, Justin. I had no one bet the game, and I knew the outcome. I knew that Michigan won.
It was awesome. If you could go back and watch that, I highly recommend it.
I'm
So we'll move
stressed
on
out.
to
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm stressed out.
uh, so we're gonna move on to the other sectional, or we're gonna move on to the other semifinal game. That's number 2 seed Laconia, 25-3 against Colfax. And I believe Colfax pulled off an upset. Oh yeah, that who Colfax beat was Neilsville. Neilsville has been number 1 undefeated team all the way up until the sectional final. Laconia is the flyweight co-champion with Winnebago Lutheran. They're led by Chris Morgan, his 11th year. He's 214-64 at Laconia. He's 219 and 101 overall. They finished the final coaches poll at number 6. You remember this team from last year, Eric? This was the team that had all the freshmen on it that somehow made it to state and showed up. They did a great job. Some of their players, um, as you go through them, one of them that sticks out to you right away is his daughter.
Who's that?
Peyton, Peyton Morgan, Laconia.
I didn't hear the last name of the coach. I was looking through. I was trying to get myself ready here because Justin, as you mentioned, They are led last year by a group of freshmen. That group of freshmen is another year older, another year more experienced, ready to go, back at state in the Resch Center. They are led in scoring by Tierney Madigan. She's getting 12.5, one of those talented sophomores, the super sophomores, if you will.
Yep.
Also, Peyton Morgan, 10.6 per game. Aubrey Leonard, she's a junior at 9.5 points per game. No, she's a sophomore as well. I
Yeah.
misspoke. Callista Vandenberg, she's the junior, where she's at 6 foot getting the boards for the team. So you've got four girls right there who are only two of them are double digit scores, technically, if you want to round up for Aubrey Leonard. However, that is a tight knit group. Callista Vandenberg, she's getting eight boards a game. Tierna Madigan, 5.3. Peyton Morgan, 3.6. Getting it done on every category. Aubrey Leonard, 99 assists on the year, Justin. That's 3.5 per game. So just again, you talk about teams getting there last year. It's the old line from the Fab Five documentary. Last year it shocked the world that they got there. This year it shocks no one that they didn't.
Mm-hmm. You're
So
right.
credit to them sticking together for another year as they've been probably playing together since they were knee high to a grasshopper. Furries, I like that one a lot. But getting it done and just again balanced basketball, Justin. You know, you're looking at this team. Not none of the numbers really stand out to you. Like I said, you know, their leading scorer only getting, and I shouldn't say only getting, but really only getting 12.5 per game. But you look at all these stats, these miscellaneous stats, the assists per game, the turnovers, the steals. You know, you look at Tierney Madigan. She got 70 steals for the season. That's 2.5 a game, Justin.
Mm-hmm.
Getting it done on all fronts with a young squad of girls who've been doing it since they started playing basketball, and they've only gotten better. They stayed together, they put the work in, and they're back at state again.
Yep. They're gonna. I mean, they've got a run here that they're gonna be there. This could shape up to be a state championship matchup for the foreseeable future. Honestly, um, their opponent in the three seed is Colfax. They were 21-6. They finished second place in the Dunn St. Croix um, conference. Elk Mound won that conference. They finished the regular season unranked. They're making their first state trip since 2013. Um, they were on the others to watch preseason ranking. They knocked off the proverbial favorite here um, in Division One, the number one seed um, overall, really in Neilsville, 39-37 in sectionals. Um, it's a big upset, Eric. There's no other way to put it. If you were going to tell me that Colfax was going to upset Neilsville, I would have called you crazy going into this. But they've got some great young players themselves, Eric. Um, as you go through them, the McKenna Shipman is probably the one that sticks out the most.
Yeah, far and away the one that sticks out the most, Justin. At a 5'7" junior, she is leading the team in both scoring at 16.9 points per game. She has a season high of 31. Next closest score was Ainsley Olson, only 6.9 per game, but had a season high of 21 in a single game. McKenna Shipman also doing it with the board. She gets 6.6, 5'7", Justin, getting 6.6 rebounds per game.
Mm. Position, Eric.
And then also leading the way with 2.8 assists per game and 1.9 steals per game and a seventh of a block.
Yeah.
zero point 0.7 blocks per game. 19 on the season. That's almost, you know, like I said, it's almost one per game.
At
Incredible
5'7".
at 5'7". So again, rebounding is a mentality. It's
Mm-hmm.
not. It doesn't matter the height. Doesn't matter the size of the dog in the fight. It's the fight of or the size of the fight in the dog, Justin. And McKenna Shipman getting it done. Colfax. That's who we're talking about. Yeah, Colfax.
She's hoping she can lead her team to a state title here, Eric. But as far as predictions go, Eric, I don't see it happening. I just don't. As I said previously, I think this is going to be a state title game that we're going to see for the foreseeable future with Aquinas and Laconia, as our hearts probably try and pull for our northeastern Wisconsin brethren in Michigan. Just don't see the firepower that they could have to take over an Aquinas team. Um, with that, Eric, for rivalry's sake and how this could go for the years to come, I'm going to take Laconia over Aquinas this year.
Justin, I want to be with you on that. I don't think it's their time. I think Aquinas may sneak this one out. I do want to point out, though, if Laconia very much has that, again, that unstatisticable. It's not in the stats. It's intangible. That's what I'm looking for. They have that
There you go.
intangible of the chemistry being together. You talk about knowing where the next one's going to be without even seeing it. They could close their eyes probably and play these games because of that chemistry over the
Hmm.
years. That said, I'm giving it to Aquinas this year, but if we're talking next year, we're talking about teams to watch for 2024. Look out. Laconia's on their way.
Hmm. Could be a repeat again. This is setting itself up. Then we're gonna move on to Division 5. Eric, are you ready? Are you hitting your buttons? You're ready to go.
I'm
This
always
is
ready
one.
for this.
This is one of the shockers here, Eric. Is how this was seeded again. We talked about a shocker um, in our section in regionals when the first seedings came out with Sevastopol and Leona Wabino not, you know, Leona Wabino got the 1 seed and Sevastopol got the 2 seed. That ended up playing out right because Leona Wabino handed it to Sevastopol in the sectional semifinal game.
They heard us talking.
Yeah. So it was how this works out. Number one, McDonald Central um, is 24-5. Eric, they finished the final regular season coaches poll at number 8. Dan Cooper or Don Cooper is in his 16th year there. He's 157 and 72 at McDonald Central, 179 and 121 overall. They were the Clover Belt West champion, 14-0. Um, they are making their third state appearance, third consecutive year. Um, the one that really sticks out to you, Eric, um, well, at least for me, is their junior Aubrey Dorn, the 6-footer averaging a double double.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about, the two-headed junior monster. First, Emily Cooper. I'm assuming that's the coach's daughter. Uh, 16 points a game. She's also getting 4.8 boards per game and getting it done with 5.2 assists per game. So kind of getting it done on all fronts. And then,
Mm-hmm.
and as you mentioned, Justin, Aubrey Dorn, 14.2 points per game, and like you said, 10.0 rebounds. So a 10 rebounds on the dot for her. Also chipping in with 2.8 assists per game. So kind of a two-headed monster. Then you got Emily Cooper, also, excuse me, I meant Marley Hughes. I was getting ahead of myself here. Also getting double-digit scoring from the senior Marley Hughes with 11.4 per game. So really kind of a three-headed effort. Marley Hughes getting 5.3 boards per game and leading the team in assists at 7.1 per game. She's also getting 2.6 steals. While we're talking, Emily Cooper, 4.5 steals per game. So a very defensive-minded team, with these numbers and getting it done. Defense wins championships, Justin. It should shock no one with some of these numbers. Again, having three
Yep.
girls who get these numbers, and it's more than, just the numbers, obviously, but getting it done again on all three fronts.
So here's the shocker of this. This game's going to happen at 9:05 Friday morning on the Resch Center floor. None of these teams have played that early in the morning. Well, maybe over Thanksgiving or Christmas or something like that. Maybe, um, but typically not. They're going to take on the number 4 seed, the undefeated Albany team. that finished the regular season coaches poll as the number one team in the state, but they end up getting the 4 seed at state. They were the Six Rivers East champion. They're coached by Derek Dershner. He's in his 6th year. He's 115-37 there. Should shock nobody that his win streak's at 28 right now. Right.
That's
Um,
out.
this is the this is their first state tournament appearance, so that might play a little bit into it, Eric. But as you said, as you look at it, Eric, um, the name that really sticks out to you there is Abby Hollis, the sophomore there. 89 3-pointers made this year.
Yeah, we talk about a lot in some of these schools about how the youth movement coming through. Abby Hollis, the 5'6" sophomore. She's leading scoring for this team at 17.4 a game. Also, Elena Dirtschi, she's getting 15 per game, and Gracie Freitag, she's averaging 12. You have a couple one girl getting 9.1. And just again, Gracie Freitag, she's getting that 9.1, but she's also pulling down 7.2 rebounds. Elena Dirtschi, 6.9. And then you look at, again, kind of looking at the defense element, 5.2 points per game or assists per game for Elena Dirtschi. So some of these numbers, like you said, coming through, Justin. Um, again, team efforts, and especially again that young Abby Hollis with the 17.4, kind of only hitting her stride, leading the way for her team to hopefully keep that winning streak going for them.
Mm-hmm. And here's the one that really tugs at us, Eric. This is the one we're rooting for, our brethren way up here in northeastern Wisconsin. Um, the second game Friday morning in the first session. This game's going to take place at roughly 11:45 a.m. on Friday morning. It'll be number 2 seed Blair Taylor at 27-1 versus number 3 seed Wabino Leona. When they say that, Eric, it just doesn't make sense to me. Why isn't it Leona Wabino? Is it just because how the cities go on 32?
That's the only assumption I can make because I've always called Leon Obino.
Me too. It
I've
just
I
sounds better, Leona Wabino.
honestly when I looked this up and I saw that they made state, it tripped me up because I was thinking, why is it Wabino Leona? I had that same
Yeah.
thought. Real quick, shout out to one of our loyal listeners, Brianna Verhagen. She is a Gillette native, Gillette graduate. She is the athletic trainer at Wabino Leona. I hate saying that. I don't like that at all.
No.
But on the court, Leona Wabino, I'm gonna say it my way because I can. It's our show. Riley Yeager, 12.9 points per game. She is a 5'6" sophomore. Again, youth kind of leading the way here in this tournament, Justin.
Mm-hmm.
Caitlin LaRock, 9.8 per game. Gracie Crosby, 8.9 per game. So a very rounded effort. Also,
Mm-hmm.
Allison Albrecht, she's getting 7.1 boards per game. Grace Crosby, 6.3. Riley Yeager, 4.9. Kind of those miscellaneous stats. Grace Crosby, 2.7 assists per game. I'm guessing sister Mallory Crosby, 2.6 per game. Kaylin LaRock, 2.0 rebounds per game. So very rounded effort. Again, you talk about that game in, game out, team in, team out. Riley Yeager, 3.8 steals per game, Justin.
Mm-hmm.
So a
So
very,
this.
you talked about, we talked about extensively on the show, the upset in seeding that they got that 1 seed. Well, credit to the computer instead of us. It played out how it needed to. They got the job done against Sebastopol, and they've gotten the job done to this point. Tugging on our heartstrings as well with being our local team. I told Brianna that they better be making it to Saturday because I want to watch them play in person again.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's more of a personal interest, but um, getting, beating one of those top name teams. You talk about teams that have that, I talked about Green Bay having that cachet earlier in the show. Edgar was their semi or sectional final matchup. Beat them 53-43. And they'll have, as you mentioned, Blair Taylor. Kind of the combined schools. That's what happens when you get to Division 5. You got those combined schools playing. Blair Taylor, Justin, take it away.
Blair Taylor's 27-1, 13-1 in the Dairyland Large Championship Conference there. Their coach is Jesse Lean, and he's in his second year. Great record, Eric. 53-3 over 2 years. They're averaging 71 points a game. I can tell you from a deep five perspective, averaging 71 points per game. You better be ready for the press because that press is coming. Um, this is their first state title or first state tournament appearance. They finished the final season or the final coaches poll at number 4 in the state. They're led by a senior in Lindsay Stein.
I'm gonna
Eric.
say that. I'm gonna say, Justin. They are led by two seniors.
Okay.
I'm going to say Stein and Abby Thompson. Lindsay with 23.1 points per game. Abby Thompson 18.4. Both of them kind of getting the job done. Lindsay Stein getting 6.5 rebounds per game. Abby Thompson in fourth on the team at 4 rebounds per game. But you talk about the press. You talk defensively. You talk about spreading the ball with those two. You've got 6.6 assists per game with Abby Thompson. 6.3 with Lindsay Stein, and then defensively, 6.3 steals per game
Mm-hmm.
with Abby Thompson, the 5'6" senior. So a very well-rounded team, very senior-laden team. Something that's going to speak well for their advantage going into a state semifinal, potentially a state championship game.
I just want to throw a quick shout out to my friend. I've coached against him a couple times. Coach Andrew Harrison of Leona Wabino.
Wabino Leona. Sorry.
We've we've tried for a long time to get this side of the sectional to state. I'm happy he finally got it done for us up here in this side. Um, Won a conference championship with Crandon as the co-champion, but finally got over the hump and beat Crandon. Um, just a just a great coach, a great person. Has done a great job with this program. Um, and this is their first trip to state as a co-op, Eric. But the last trip between either one of the schools was Wabino that made it to state 41 years ago, 1982. Eric, did somebody graduate that year?
I'm not going to say.
Mama Fish.
I don't want to get in trouble when you throw that number around.
You're already in trouble, Eric.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
So, prediction, Eric. Who you got?
You know, the heart says Leona Wabino. I want to believe in them. That Blair Taylor team is tough, though. That is a tough draw for that opening
And
game.
watch out for that press.
That said, I th- I think Leona Wabino for that semifinal game is a little more well-rounded. I just slightly more well-rounded. I think if you can, if you're gonna talk defensively, you talk about what Wabino Leona did to Sevastopol, the scoring that they were able to hold them to 29 points, Justin. In that, was it the regional final?
Against Vasco
Sevastopol
sectional semi.
hold them to 29 points. So that said, I'm going to give the edge, a little bit of homer crowd here, to Wabino Leona. God, I hate saying that. Wabino Leona, with
Mm-hmm.
what they can do defensively, holding Edgar to only 53 points. So I'm gonna give them the nod there. And what's the other? The other side of this is Albany and
McDonald Central.
McDonald Central. Um, I'm gonna throw that one into a toss up. I'm gonna go with Albany being the number one team. I think they had the track record. Odds kind of stacked against them being the 4 seed when they go to Green Bay, but at the end of the day, you know what? I'm gonna take the homer crowd. Give me the Rebels of Wabino Leona to be the Division 5 state champions.
I'm with you, Eric. I'm taking the number 4 seed Albany against the number 3 seed Leona Wapino Rebels in the state championship game, and the pressure and the defense that Coach Andrew Harrison puts forth with his girls. He's going to make you play basketball at his pace. And the Rebels get the job done, Eric. The Rebels bring home the D5 state championship.
I like it. I like it a lot. We'll see how it plays out over the weekend. Be sure to stay tuned to the Root for Wisconsin Facebook page, YouTube page, TikTok page, Instagram page, social media as a whole, because we will have plenty of content from that tournament between Shauna and myself. Uh, may even throw some fun in there too. I'm sure Shauna's looking forward to the concessions. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I told her that was kind of how I was going to bribe her to be able to okay with going. So maybe we'll get some
Feeling
cotton
from
candy reviews or
fantastic.
something too throughout the day. So all in all, cannot wait for this tournament. I love the fact that it's in Green Bay every year. It's in our backyard, and I love the fact, again, shout out to the WIAA for letting us participate as well as one of the media members and get to spotlight this great area and these great players.
Yeah. And with that, Eric, I hope everybody enjoys it. And with that, um, we're going to move on to our player spotlight um, of the show. It is going to be a 6'9" senior that's committed to UW Oshkosh, Eric, um, from the city of Peshtigo, Kane Fort. Um,
What's the name?
at Kane Fort.
Sounds like a fort. 6'9"? Are you
Yeah,
kidding me? Holy cow.
yeah, yeah. We played against him this year, and this dude is he's a nice young man. He's well within himself, attitude wise. He's just learning how to really dive into his 6'9" frame. UW Oshkosh probably stole one here for the latter part of his career. Through the 2023 season, Peshtigo comes from the daunted um, Packerland Conference. Um, he was 16. He had 16.3 points per game. He scored 423 points this season, Eric, and he doubled that up with 13.6 rebounds per game, 353 total rebounds. That was good for seventh in the state. He led Peshtigo to an 18-8 record. They lost in the regional final, I believe, against Winneconne.
That is
Uh,
correct. 78-64.
yeah, he's a young man that is expanding his game. Um, I really believe Oshkosh stole one from under the radar here, and we can look forward to what his career is going to be locally in Oshkosh, Eric.
6 foot. Now that's incredible. I How do you even defend that in the Packerland?
Well, you
Good for
can't.
him.
Well, I can tell you from our standpoint, we couldn't front it, and we couldn't play behind his back. We couldn't play on top. We couldn't play behind. We couldn't defend. So he's really learning how to beat double teams and shoot a little bit from distance. He's making it at a better rate from the free throw line, or at least did against us. So he's a good young player that Oshkosh stole, and yeah, I guess that's why Oshkosh is a premier program at the D3 level, because they find diamonds in the rough like this guy there, Eric.
Yeah, shout out to Kane Fort. Did not get to see him play, but from everything you said, sounds like an absolute force, and excited to see his career play out. And when you talk about a one of those more premier Division 3 schools in the country, really as a whole, um,
Mm-hmm.
you think, and especially with how transfer portals are going and how the world of college basketball is changing, you think maybe that turns into something more, kind of gets into the what's the word I'm looking for? Gets into the spot and maybe takes the most of his opportunity and can turn that into a scholarship, can turn that into a mid-major, whether that be a possible Green Bay or Milwaukee or any kind of looking at that, or even maybe getting down to Madison if need be, if they're looking for a 6'9" player as well. Can't teach height.
Can't teach height. You can't teach height, and you can't teach speed, Eric. Watch out for Blair Taylor.
True.
That moves us on to our team spotlight, Eric. You know who that is?
I do, but I'm gonna let you tell me anyway.
The Crivets Wolverines boys basketball team, Eric. They're 24-1 in the M&O conference. It's like their fifth championship in a row in conference, either outright or shared. Longtime head coach Jeff Bauman, great coach. I believe he's their principal. They will play St. Mary Catholic's boys team, who's, I believe, the number one team in Division 4. They will play St. Mary Catholic in the sectional semifinal in O'Connell Falls tomorrow night.
3 team.
Number 3 team?
Yeah, for the week 14 coaches poll, they were number 3. It was Luther, Howard's Grove, then St. Mary
Okay,
Catholic.
yeah. They just beat Howard's Grove, I believe. So, Crivets is led by Tegan Werner at 17.2 points per game. He's also throwing 4 assists per game at it. Sean Christensen at 16.8 points per game, 8.1 rebounds per game. And Jackson Flowers, who I believe comes off the bench for them, is at 10.2 points per game and 6.7 rebounds per game. They are a well-rounded, very deep team. They sport, I believe, 3 upperclassmen that are above 6'5", and then they bring a freshman off the bench that's 6'5". Um, this program
Yeah,
that
X in the
coach,
water in Marinette County. Holy cow.
yeah, this coach, uh, what Coach Jeff Bauman has done with this program is unbelievable. Over the last 10 years, he's really turned them into a power. Their lone loss is a team by a young man that we covered earlier in an earlier episode in Southern Door, and they traveled to Southern Door, and a young man, Drew Dost, lit him up a little bit, but they lost by a couple points at a tough D3 school, and they're going to be an interesting take here, Eric. I think they get it done.
I just kind of looking at them and from what you've told me, kind of climbing up those coaches polls and coaches rankings, and I mean you kind of talk about that one loss, probably one of the better players they're going to see all year. One of
No
the better
doubt about it.
teams they're going to see all year. So kind of getting it done night in, night out. You gotta keep it going. You've got some tough tests coming ahead here. They'll have St. Mary Catholic, as you mentioned, coming up on Thursday the 9th. And from there, you just kind of gotta ride the wave too. Don't get out ahead of the moment. You beat a very good Kiwani team in the regional final, and you keep it going and hope for the best.
Yep. So good luck to Coach Jeff Bauman. I don't know if I'll be at the game tomorrow night. Seems like an interesting just 10-minute drive for me to not go see it. So maybe I got to go see a basketball game before the big operation, Eric.
Avoid that.
All right. So we'll move on. We'll move on to boys sectional games. Some notable boys sectional games before we sign off and give it to our guest. Our guest spotlight is referee Ryan Herald. Um, so some of the area notable sectional games in Division 1, number 8 seed Superior at 14-11 will play number 12 seed Eric. A 12 seed advances to sectionals. Appleton North. Appleton North winning a couple games is at 13-3. Number 6 seed Nina at 16-10 makes it to sectionals, and they'll play number 2 seed Hudson at 20-6. The powerhouse of Division 1, Eric, the number 1 team overall is number 1 De Pere, 26-0. They'll play number 4 Homestead at 21-5. And number 6 Kakana at 16-10 will play a tough Marquette team at 20-6.
Marquette University High School, by the way.
Yep.
I had to say
Yep.
university one more time.
which says so much about what that conference strength is. When you got Kakana at 16-10, and they're the 6th seed, and Marquette University's at 20-6, and they're the 7th seed.
Couple more
Look,
here, Justin, just to kind of give your voice a break. Looking at that local area, New London and Mosinee taking place in Wapaka, Notre Dame versus West Pier. Little local flavor for you. That game taking place in Pulaski, Campbellsport and Brillion at Denmark. We already talked about Crivets and St. Mary Catholic. Valders Kohler, for my Kohler people, my coworkers down in the Sheboygan area. That game taking place at Two Rivers. Reedsville Heritage Christian in Fond du Lac. Kind of wrapping out the Fox Valley area.
the one you missed, Eric, you missed a powerhouse game in Division 3.
What was that?
Number 1 seed Xavier versus 24-2. They'll play number 2 seed Little Shoot, who's also 24-2. Just a monster of a game to go ahead and play Brilliant. In all likelihood, Brilliant.
Yeah, that wasn't on my list of games here in the Fox Valley, according to with sports. I'm not sure how they classified that, but that's on them, not me.
Okay. Did you hit D5? You didn't hit D5, did you?
No, I was literally just going through the games taking place tomorrow. In our North Central area, we'll have Newman Catholic and Pacelli, and then the school that I think this one, Justin, I think this will be a good game. Two schools that you're familiar with, being Gibraltar playing against Three Lakes in Suring tomorrow night.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we did not make it. Three Lakes bounced us out of the tournament in what was a pretty good game. Our guys came out a little cold. We spotted Three Lakes a 12-point lead right off the bat, and they fought in all the way to the final minutes to get her within 5. Three Lakes just shot the ball so much better than we did, and that's what playing in your home gym does sometimes. Yeah, and all the credit to Three Lakes. That deserve to be there. They have a tall task, literally a tall task, in playing Gibraltar. Gibraltar's got a 6'8" guy at center, and they've got a 6'4" point forward. And all the other positions that they put on the court, I believe they bring 6'5" off the bench. I mean, you're talking about a D5 school. Those are hard heights to match at that level. The one game that really sticks out at the D5 level is Newman Catholic against Pacelli. Pacelli is a really good team. Our boys saw them over summer, and we learned a lot about ourselves in that game. If you understand what I'm saying there. But another side note in D4, Marathon versus Auberdale. Marathon's got a 6'9" guy that's averaging almost 24 points a game. The winner of that is in all likelihood going to face either St. Mary Catholic or Crivets. So that about wraps it up. Get out, watch a game this weekend. You have too much basketball around us to not watch it, Eric.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're not able to attend a game, those state championship games are on the CW as well as the WIAA network. And of course, be sure to check out your Wisconsin spin on it, as Secretary Shauna and myself will be at the tournament Friday night and Saturday throughout the day. Get out, watch some basketball, watch some sports, and then also, before we officially sign off, got to give a huge shout out to Ryan Herald for joining us. A WIAA certified varsity referee, has seen a lot of things. Have a great interview with him coming up here as we officially sign off on the episode. Be sure to check that out. Gives a great perspective on referees and kind of the referee shortage as we have in the state of Wisconsin, really across the country, but specifically in the state of Wisconsin. And just a great perspective on the world of high school basketball that doesn't get talked about a whole lot. It's a very, very silent portion, but something that needs to be talked about as well. So thanks to Ryan for joining us. We'll have that interview coming up. But for Justin and myself, Eric, I want to thank you for checking out episode 4. We're in the books. See ya.
Peace.
Joining us now, our guest of the week, a WIAA certified varsity referee, Ryan Herald. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Now, Ryan, you do go back with the coach a little bit, I hear.
Oh yeah, long time. We've been good friends since probably middle school. So I put up with him for quite a while now. Probably going on.
That in and of itself is probably shows your patience to be a referee.
Oh yeah, and I've done some of his games, and some of those games are pretty difficult under this guy. I'll tell you that.
Oh, come on now. Don't be dogging me like that.
I've had to, yeah. Well, no, you've behaved in recent years, so you're a great coach. So that's always good work.
Lately, so he doesn't have much to say.
I've changed my ways. I've changed my ways, my friend. You know that better than anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. No, Justin's a great coach. Great guy to work for.
All right, Justin, start us off here.
All right, so just a little background, Ryan. You're from the city of Ocano. Do you want to touch base with what reffing? What do you call it, a commission that you work for, or where you're based out of, and who your reffing commissioner is, and how that situation works, and just fill our fans in with that.
Yeah, so there's several facets to it. I mean, we do have our area conference commissioners. So we have, like Gary Sievert, he's actually retiring, but he had the Bay, he had, FRCC, like things like that. And then we have different assigners for different conferences. So you develop a rapport with some of those guys, and then basically what happens is you do a good job in their conference. They'll come to some of your games, especially when you're young. And then if you do a good job, you promote yourself well on the floor. What happens in return is you continue to get games for the following years. So typically you get 3 or 4 games per conference from each commissioner for each conference for the year upcoming. So you get those games about a year ahead of time, so that and they all work together. They typically, a lot of those bigger conferences, like in the Valley area, they'll get together as commissioners with a big spreadsheet, and then they'll kind of work together, so there's no double bookings, or they try to minimize those. But yeah, I mean, so as long as you do well on the court, provide a good name for yourself, the better job you do, the better games you get. So those commissioners will hire officials as crews. But then we also do have Steve Maniszewski, who does he hires people not in crews. So he basically pick and place, send you wherever you're going, and you're going to ref with 2 guys that you don't typically work for. So it all depends on the game, all depends on the conference. But between the conference commissioners, non-conference games through the local athletic directors who you develop rapport with, they'll go ahead and throw you a bone. So it's all about networking, and just by those different facets, you end up with about a 35 to 50 game schedule for the upcoming year. So. And the better you do, the better games you get, obviously. So that's kind of how it works. And I work with a crew of my brother and Jason Thomas from Appleton. And then when I ref Steve's games, I ref with whoever he puts me with. So it's kind of how it works in our area. So that's kind of how we do things.
Yeah, Ryan, if we could just take a step backwards, just to kind of start with, how does one become a certified official? And then how do they get to the part where they can, or the point where they can do varsity basketball games?
Yeah, so typically anybody can become an official. So Justin, for example, if you wanted to be an official, all you have to do is go on the WIAA website. You apply to become an official. They run a background check, and then you just take the test, and from there it's about self-promoting and taking every opportunity you can. Now, like when I started, this was going almost 20 years ago now. There really wasn't any feeder programs. It was all about putting your name out there, reaching out to youth assigners and things like that just to get youth games. And that was hard back in the day because there were so many officials. But yeah, so what they have now is, I know Steve runs camps. There's different camps along the way. There's Facebook groups. You definitely have the opportunities to go to camps. And what is really nice is one of our better officials in the area works for UWGB, and he in the athletic department, he actually has the students come right through their program, and they're getting varsity games right out the bat, where I had probably 6 to 8 years of fighting to get games at the lower youth levels and JV and freshman games before I even got a taste of my first varsity game. So much different now. I mean, I've officiated games with 21-year-olds, and I'm asking them, in the FVA conference, like, are you nervous right now? And they're like, nope, I'm ready for it. And it's like, if I were you at that age, I would have been trying to run off the court because I just
Is that Casey Pavanka?
It is Casey Pavanka. Yes.
He actually got me into reffing too, so I just
Oh,
tried to shout
nice.
him out.
Yeah, great guy, great official too. I've done probably about 10 games with him in the past. We've always done some good games, and he's fun to work with. Absolutely. So it's really good to have people like that in the area to promote it, because without people like that, with the numbers that we're looking at right now, it would be really difficult. So it's good to have people like that promoting the profession.
Justin?
Yeah, so a lot of what we just talked about in that one subject there is a bunch of topics that or questions that I want to ask in here right now. As a varsity ref, how long have you been reffing varsity? I forgot what you said.
Yeah, since I was 19, so I'm on my 18th season. So yeah,
So as long as I've been coaching.
Correct. Yeah. So since I've been
No
19,
wonder you're an old dog like me.
That's almost older than I am.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Almost. He got about 8 years.
Making me feel old right
that
now.
comes out too.
So one of the things you said in your previous comment was how they put you in places. So the notion that a fan would have or an opposing coach would have, I mean, I think this has probably happened to me when you or your brother, who I'm very close with, both of you, have reffed my games. We don't get to pick, like the coaches don't get to pick and choose who's reffing. Like we don't know who's reffing our game ahead of time. So the notion to a fan that, boy, I really got one under the boat there, that's not really a thing, correct?
Absolutely no. I mean, yeah, like you said, you don't know who you're getting. We don't know who we're getting until we get that contract. So yeah, I mean, it's completely up to the commissioners and things like that. So for anybody to think that an official comes in looking to be one-sided on anything like that, that's completely opposite. We don't ref to do those types of things, and we just get out there and we work as hard as we can, given the game that we got, without bias.
So with that, Ryan, I know one thing that you had mentioned in again one of those previous answers was talking about the officiating crew, the dynamic of an officiating crew that you work, several games a year with, and then you also have those kind of, for lack of a better term, freelance games where it's 3 guys or gals show up and do the game. So I guess kind of going through that, can you explain the differences kind of in the chemistry that you have if you do have those crew games, and if you have a preference one way or the other?
Absolutely. I don't mind either one because I kind of know what I'm getting into either way. Now, if you're asking me, I definitely want to ref with my normal crew, because when I ref with my brother and JT, we ref probably 20 games together each season, varsity games, where we work so much together that I know that I don't have to look in that area, because I know he's got me covered. And I know they know that I got them covered. So there's that comfort level of having the people that you rep with all the time. And then on the other hand, repping with 2 other random guys, a lot of times these people just because you've been doing it for so long. But there's always those games where you get that 20-year-old or 21-year-old where you kind of have those 2-man mechanics where I'm going to have to survey the floor a little bit more tonight, because the kid's nervous and you're there to help him out. And because I've been in that position before, and it's kind of the opposite. So I definitely don't mind working with 2 other guys, because sometimes those are actually really fun games, because you talk about the game a little bit more before it starts, and as opposed to with my crew, we don't really talk about the game before because we ref so much together. So each game's different, but I would definitely prefer to ref with my crew, if I had the opportunity and the chance to.
So I'm gonna dwell into our friendship a little bit right here, my friend.
Okay.
As a varsity ref and a for our fans that don't know, you have twin boys that you are coaching their youth basketball team.
Right.
My question would be is how do those roles as varsity ref and youth basketball coach, and we know how extremely hard it is to A, coach a youth team, and B, ref a youth game, because what do you call them when you call it? How hard or how do those roles interchange with each other and affect you in both of those positions that you hold as coach and ref?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty thankful for the fact that I've ref for so long and the things in those things, because as a coach, there's times where I want to say something, but I bite my tongue because I know that I've been in that spot before. Um, and I will tell an official, especially if it's a young guy, I said, you do not have to worry about me. I am not going to say a thing because I ref basketball. I just want you to get better. This game doesn't really matter. To me, it does to some of my parents. So don't get me wrong on that.
Mhm.
But I just tell those officials that I'm not going to say a thing. I coach my kids because I want those young officials. I don't want them to get scared away from it because, as you guys both probably know, the numbers are really trending in a bad direction. And that's another thing too, is I tell my kids, regardless of how the game's officiated at the end of the game, no matter what, if you're not happy with it, you go and shake that referee's hand. And I will do likewise. We do that every game. But yeah, it is tricky. It is tricky because there are a lot of things where I'm like, oh, how did you not call that? And things like that, or, like it's frustrating. But at the end of the game, I think to myself, it's just a youth kids game. I just want my kids to play. It doesn't matter if we win or lose. But yeah, there's definitely those moments where the ref in me wants to come out and I want to say something. I want to give advice, but then I have to take a step back, and I try not to do that unless they really want me to, which I've had a few younger guys that they've seen me before. They've seen me ref in their local communities, and they do ask me those questions. So yeah, it's definitely a different dynamic, a weird dynamic, but I do enjoy both sides of it. I love coaching my kids. I'm going to coach them as long as I can. I love doing it, but I also like refing a lot too, and hopefully my kids can ref with me someday. So yeah, definitely two sides of the spectrum, but I enjoy both of them.
And just kind of flipping that around, I know one of the reasons, for our listeners, they don't know when we record this, but we're recording this after the Badgers game. So kind of turning that, that dynamic of even being a fan now, do you find yourself criticizing kind of bigger games that you even watch on TV? Or do you kind of look at it and just be like, oh, yep, that's why they're there? And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I'm a fan. I'm a fan first and foremost, and there are definitely times where I feel like, oh, we got robbed there. But at the end of the day, these guys are fantastic officials. I mean, they are fantastic in what they do. And you watch 99% of these games, they are spot on with almost everything. Now, do I feel like NCAA and NBA officials sometimes they seem kind of like robots, to be honest, because they do it so much and then there's really no emotion there with them. Whereas at a high school game or at a youth game, I think there's a little bit more emotion involved with officiating because just you're repping in your local communities. But yeah, the fan definitely comes out in a lot of these games, especially once the tournament starts, once the Bucks get into the playoffs, things like that. Yeah, I mean, but will I ever be the guy that's screaming out there at an official? No, because I've been a UWGB fan for a long time. Haven't gone to a lot of games this year just because the program's in a rough spot. But I don't know. I go to some of those games and it gets kind of annoying with some of the fans.
You didn't miss much. I'm going to say that as the radio producer for those games, you did not miss much for the men's side.
Yeah, I went to the first game against St. Norbert before my officiating schedule started, and I knew it wasn't going to be a real good year just by the way that they were playing. But you never know. They can come back. They can get better. But yeah, it's difficult sometimes being an official in the stands. It's kind of tough to listen because you hear it enough when you're on the court. You want a little bit of a reprieve from that, and then you hear that in the stands. So, but that just comes with the game.
Yeah, just kind of. I mean, we're kind of avoiding the elephant in the room here. Talking about the fan criticisms and you've mentioned a couple times now the shortages in referees and the kind of the alarming trend with that. So first, if you could touch on that alarming trend, and then also just kind of piggybacking on that, the toughest environment that you've had to referee a game in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the numbers they're dwindling because obviously, just like in the workforce, I mean, we have a really big number of people that are in the 60 to 70-year-old age range, just baby boomers. You know what I mean, and a large amount of officials that are leaving the game, and there's just not enough young guys to replace them. And I've been at these youth tournaments where the coach opposite for me is just that they're just screaming at these kids, and it's like I just want to say something. And I know darn right that these kids aren't going to ref anymore after these types of situations. So I think I don't know what the solution is to that besides stepping up and saying something. I'm on the youth basketball board in my community. I'm the vice president of our basketball board, and I've several times during our tournaments, I have walked up to coaches or fans, and I've had talks with them. Because I think that, until they have that situation where someone gets in their face, politely that is, and lets them know about the official shortages, they're not going to care until someone actually gets in front of them and says something. So, I don't know if you guys saw that viral video that at a high school game where they told the fans to shut up, and it kind of caught a lot of grief. But I think that really caught a lot of people off guard, but in a good way. So yeah, I mean, the more we can promote sportsmanship, the better. Obviously, that's always going to be a work in progress. But on the other hand, as far as toughest environment or the hardest game I've had to deal with fans.
However you want to answer that, it's up to you.
I'd say toughest. To be honest, I've been pretty lucky. I mean, yeah, you're always going to have your hecklers at certain games. The worst games to do are the games that, going into them, it's not a very good game. Two lower level teams, not a lot of people in the stands. And you always got that one guy. You just got that one guy that's just screams everything, and it's like, that is just the worst because it's just one guy, but then you have these games like, brings me in my next, with your question, the toughest game I've ever done is sectional semifinal, Oshkosh West, between Neenah and Kimberly, 2018, the year before the COVID kind of started. Packed house, standing room only. Link Darner standing in the doorway. You got Brian Butch up in the, doing the radio, just super loud. Crazy environment, tough environment. Every call you make, you got half the stand screaming like happily, and half of them are just on you, pointing at you, just screaming. And watching Max Klesmet here, I remember that the game that I'm talking about, the toughest game I ever had, was Kimberly made a shot to put it within 1 point with 8 seconds left, sectional semifinal. Max Klesmet brings the ball in, and I'm the trail official behind him. And he gives one of these just blatant with 7 seconds left. And I bang it the other way, and I brought that house down. Like, I have the video. I look at it every once in a while, and it just gives me the chills because, like, I remember it to this day, like how great, like I had goosebumps. I couldn't even barely talk when I made the call, but Max Klesmet pushed them off, and it gave Kimberly a chance for a last second shot. And hit off the rim, 3-pointer, bounced off twice, and they lost the game. And walking out of there was Kimberly fans leaning over the rafters, just screaming at us. And I'm like, why do I do this? But then again, it was probably like the funnest game I was ever a part of. You know what I mean? But that was the most intense atmosphere I think I've ever had. But last Friday night, I had a sectional semi, number 2 D5 team in the state, boys. Central Wisconsin Christian hosted Oakfield, where me and my crew didn't think it was going to be a game, and that thing went down to the last second, and there was a bunch of crazy things that happened, and that was right up there with it. So that's kind of why we do it, because it's fun at the end of the day. But yeah, you're always going to have those tough situations as well, but you take the good with the bad and you just go with it.
Which at the end of your answer there, it leads me perfectly into this next question. What really drew you? Like, I remember when you first told me that you were going to be a ref, and I was like,
yeah,
dude, what? You're going to be a ref? And so now you can tell us what really drew you into being a ref.
To be honest, I didn't want to be one, but my brother said, hey, I'm making some good money, some good cash on the weekend. You want to try it? And I was like, no. He's like, just do it. So I was like, all right, I'll try it, and went there with sweatpants on with white shoes and didn't know what I was doing. People are like, who the heck is this guy? And I just wanted to make some extra cash. I was taking classes in college, and my brother was like, you make 20, 25 bucks a game. Well, they'll give us as many games as we want. Next thing you know, I was making $300, $350 a weekend reffing basketball. And they weren't the prettiest games. I mean, we were getting chased out of the gym a few times when we were young because we didn't really know what we were doing, but the money was good because, believe it or not, when me and Justin were 18, 19 years old, minimum wage was $7.25. So if you think about working at a gas station for 8 hours, then they take taxes out, you're making $56 for 8 hours versus making a bunch more than that, making $25 an hour, doing that eight hours a day, Saturday, Sunday. It was a good gig. So after that, I met up with John Key. I know, Justin, you probably know who John Key is, official in the area.
Yep.
He got me
Great
into
official.
doing JV stuff. And next thing you know, and here we are, we're up in varsity. It's been 18 years and I love it. Still doing it. So
this is kind of a fun question, and it's not on our official list of questions. So I don't know if Justin tipped you off, but
no, don't worry about it.
I'm going to ask it anyway.
Mhm.
Is there an official that you kind of looked up to along the way, either professional, college, or do you kind of maybe just go with the whole line of thinking that if you don't know the official's name, it's probably for the best?
No, I mean, when I was coming up, when I was in JVs and things like that, I didn't really know anybody. But once you really start getting into it and start getting that first varsity game, there's definitely officials out there that you look up to. And actually, the cool story is one of the ones I really looked up to was Fred Fullerton. I know you guys both don't know who he is, but I looked up to him because he actually helped us out when we screwed up in a youth game. His kid was playing. We screwed up a call and everybody was screaming at us. He walked down from the bleachers, came up to us and said, guys, calm down. I'm an official. I'm a varsity official. I got this. Talked us through the situation. Got things right with the book, got things right with everything, and all was good with the world at that point, and finished the game. And then next thing you know, about 8 years later, Fred asked me to be on his crew. And
wow.
he's done the Division I state boys twice. He's been to state boys, like I think 3 or 4 times. I refed. That's where I got to do my 4 of my 5 sectional basketball games was with Fred. In Tolofwinkie. He's no longer officiating either, but I really looked up to those guys, and to be asked to be on their crew, I thought that was really cool. And then obviously there's certain college basketball officials that I really like. I don't really know their names. I know one's a Higgins. He does all the Big 12 games, things like that. And then there's a couple guys in the Big East that I really follow that do a great job, that you see them in all the big games. So definitely look at those guys. Definitely look at what they do, how they handle coaches, how they react, how they deal with pressure, and kind of just let that, work in your own way, however you feel like you need to do it. So watching what they do and just kind of turning it in your own way. So yeah, absolutely.
So with that, these people that you have looked up to, and they're doing these big games, and they're doing some major stuff in the reffing world. What type of goals do you have as ambitions for your reffing career? Do you want to obviously probably reffing at state would be a once in a lifetime deal as a ref? Do you want to move up to the college level? Do you want, what would you say your major goals would be as a ref?
I mean, I'd say probably about 4 or 5 years ago, I was definitely wanted to get as far as I could. Now, obviously, now that my boys are getting a little older, I'm coaching them. I actually had to give away 15 of my varsity games this year just because of scheduling and things like that. Some really good games too that I had to get rid of. But no, not anymore. Do I want to ref college or anything like that? I did really want to do that. I was offered some of the JUCO stuff in the area, like the UW Manitowoc, things like that. I did accept a few of those games, but then we had that COVID year, and those games got canceled. So I don't really have any aspirations to do anything at any higher level than what I'm doing. Would I like to do a state game? And I think that I'm hoping that within the next probably 2 to 3 years, I might get a chance at that. If I would have stuck with my crew from a few years ago, if they didn't retire, I think that would have happened, just with the credentials and things of how it works. I've kind of met those credentials for myself through many regional final games, 4 or 5 sectional games. I'm kind of in that spot where you're ready to get selected to go to state. It's just that my partner's, my brother, he doesn't have a lot of experience with deep playoff runs, and neither does JT. So I'm hoping, and I would hope that we would end up getting a sectional game next year, and then maybe the following year, I think hopefully we'll get a shot at least the girls' state tournament, which would be awesome. And then if we ever get a boys' game, that would be great too. So either way, I would love to do both, but that would be my ultimate goal, would be at least to get one state game under my belt before I ended up calling it quits. But yeah, just officiating in varsity basketball for me is good enough. I just love reffing the game. So.
In terms of a game by game basis, what do you find to be the biggest challenge on a game by game basis as a referee?
Game by game basis, knowing what game you have. I mean, I could look at my schedule and I can 90% of the time I'm almost spot on with it, but looking at the game and saying, oh, that's going to be a fun game. Oh, that's going to be a tough game. Oh, that is not going to be a fun game. It's those weeks where you get a grinder, I had a Shawano boys versus Seymour boys, just scrappy. That's a scrappy conference, big conference, physical. I had a game like that, went right down to the wire, and then you get another game the next night that's just a grinder. So you get a few of those in a week. By Friday night, you're just hoping that game is a 40-point game, because there's nothing left in the tank mentally, especially after a long work week. I think that's the toughest thing, night after night, and especially if you have to travel a long way like this. I don't know what was going on with my playoff games, but I got sent to Manitowoc, I got sent to Oshkosh, I got sent to Waupun. I was supposed to go to Florence, but there was an upset, so I ended up going to Oneida. But the travel too is just, you get home at 11 o'clock at night. Luckily, I have a few different sets of reffing clothes, but still just unpacking, packing it up, getting my lunch ready at 11:30 at night, sleeping until 6, getting up and not even going home and going to the next game. That's the biggest challenge, is when you have those back-to-back nights and not seeing your kids and things like that. It gets to be a long season. So glad it's kind of all done at this point, because you get to the end of the season, it's a lot. So, but made it through.
So just real quick, I want to dive back. Can you explain to our fans how the WIAA selects officials to ref state games with girls state basketball coming out? Perfect.
Yeah, and I get to look at those. I get to see those when they come out. To be quite honest, it's kind of a mystery. Kate Abiad, she puts together this rubric that if you do this many games, you qualify for regionals, and if you've done a regional final game, that puts you into like the next bracket to do a sectional game. If you've done a sectional game, that puts you in the next bracket to be qualified for a state game. So I've checked all those boxes, but the other piece of my crew really haven't yet. But now that we've done that regional final together, that puts us in that next bracket. So that's why I was saying before, I think that we may qualify for a sectional game next year. But I do honestly believe, the first 2 rounds, I think that they just throw crews together. But I think once you get to that regional final, I think that a guy like Steve, and this is just all here, and this is just what I think. I don't know if this for sure or not, but I have to think that the people on Wausau have to be reaching out to people that know the officials in the area, so that they have a good mix of crews on the game. So I definitely think that they get help. If I had to guess, I think they get help from people that are well rooted in the officiating community, that have a lot of who they know a lot of officials, and they know who would be a good fit. So I think that's probably how it works. But you see some of these sectional final games, sectional semifinal games, and state games, there's a lot of these guys that are there year after year, and that's a puzzle to me, because they really talk a lot about getting new blood in there and getting new officials in there. But it seems to be a lot of the same men and women there, every year. So, I go with the flow. It doesn't bother me one bit, but I know that there's a lot of officials that get really angry about it, but I'm just not one of those guys. I was happy to get 5 games in the postseason. Some guys get 1, some guys get 0. So, I'm going to take every one of them, and I'm happy to get them, and I'm going to work them to the best of my ability. So, but that's just how I feel like it probably works. But there definitely is a rubric that is posted by the WIAA on how to get to the state tournament. So.
And as we wrap up here, Ryan, just last couple questions here.
Yep.
If you could go back and give your advice to a young Ryan Herald as a referee, or even a young referee now, what advice would you give to that young ref?
If you have the opportunity to ref with someone that's older than you that has experience, get every ounce of any question that you have out of them. Ask to ask for their email address, ask for their number, because you might have a situation in a game, even if it's a youth game, you're just starting out as a 5th grade basketball game and something weird happened. Send them the situation of what happened, email them, say, this is what happened and this is what we did. What did we do wrong? What did we do right? Reach out. Don't be scared to reach out to officials, that are tenured, because ultimately at the end of the day, we want to get those young guys better so that when we leave the game, that it's in good hands with those younger guys. So never even be afraid to reach out to the coach if you're getting your first varsity game, even if that you can tell that coach did not like you during the game. Chances are that coach didn't like you during the game, but 2 days later, it's over, it's done with. And if I ask for tape, 9 times out of 10, that coach is going to give me tape, even if he thought I cost him the game, because that coach is probably thinking, well, at least you want to look at the tape to get yourself better. So always try to get better. There's so many resources on YouTube to get better as an official. Just put in the work, put in the effort. Don't just go to games to get paid. Put in the work, look at the rule book, and reach out and network with people, because that's what's ultimately going to get you better.
I know as a coach, I reach out to Ryan all the time, Eric, and ask him questions. Hey, wait a second. I've been coaching for 20 years and I still don't know this rule. How the heck do I not know this? Ryan can whip it up just like that. He's a very good official.
Well, you see the same thing so many times that you have it in your back pocket, so yeah. Mm-hmm.
So as we wrap up here, Ryan, I really thank you for your time. As you talk about taking time away from your family, and so you're gracious with your time to come and do this interview with us, kind of last minute, and I appreciate that again.
Yeah, that's okay. I didn't have anything going on. Got lucky today.
So as we depart, I just got this one here. Anything you want parents or fans or players or anybody that's involved in the game to know about what your mindset is, or what your partner's mindsets are, or in anything in the reffing world, what can we say here right now to help the casual basketball fan parent, somebody that you got that mom in the stands that watches 12 home games a year. She doesn't make all the road games, she just watches the 12 home games a year, but she's going to be the one hounding you throughout those 36 minutes. Anything that you could say to help change her mind, or the way that we are acting at games to help officials and grow the official community?
Absolutely. That's like the big money question. Boy, that's sometimes I get mad, in those games. And I say to myself, every fan that's like that, or every coach should have to ref at least 10 games. You know what I mean? And be in our position for 10 games. But you know what? That's not realistic. It's not going to happen. What I would say to parents, what I would say to youth coaches, typically most high school coaches are pretty respectful. Like I said, 9 out of 10 guys are always going to be respectful, but the ones that aren't, the parents that aren't, just think about it from a sportsmanship aspect. Think of those kids that are on that chair and what they're listening to. Basically, every time that you are screaming at an official, you're telling your child or that the kids on that team that that's okay to act like that to somebody, when it's literally at the end of the day, it's just a game. Now, as an official, I don't know if they think that I'm from outer space, or like that I'm some super different person. I'm a person just like you and me. I go to basketball games. I watch basketball. I'm going to the sectional semi game in O'Connell Falls tomorrow, and I can't wait to go to it as a fan. just show respect. I mean, you can yell and you can, just the derogatory stuff. It's just like as a coach. If you want to yell, if you don't think it's a good call, that's fine. We don't care about that stuff. It's when you stand out and you say you're terrible, that you're a terrible ref, things like it's not needed. And if you want to take it out, go somewhere else and do that, because this is interscholastic sporting event. It's supposed to be just like in the classroom. Just show respect. You can be mad, that's fine. But at the end of the day, just a little bit of sportsmanship goes a long way. And if you're not screaming at, the more that a fan screams at an official, the official's only going to get like me. I don't get nervous when a fan screams at me anymore. I just get irritated. And the chances with me, I'm getting old. I'm starting to get these gray hairs now. At Preble this year, I heard some big dude keep yelling at my partner, and then he yelled at one of my calls. I just did that, and I just pointed at the guy and I said, "Get him out." Like that's how I'm getting to the point, because I just don't want to hear it. And if you want to do that, watch it on YouTube. You have all the power to do that now. You don't have to come to the games, but just show respect. Just the derogatory stuff, leave it at home. Just don't bring it. But it's a kids sporting event. Have fun. That's really all it comes down to.
Yeah, Ryan, real quick, I kind of want to touch on something that you just said there. I know we're kind of leaning towards that being our last question, but just, I guess, kind of getting inside a referee's head, I guess, how do you personally kind of keep your cool in those moments and not let it drag into, like, the next time you have Justin as a coach and he's been screaming at you for 20 minutes or for 36 minutes, and then you have to have him a week later. How do you kind of keep your cool in those situations?
Yeah, that's tough. It's tough when you have a really heated game, and if you have to see them pretty soon after, that's tough. I feel like as a young official, that was a really hard thing. That's a really hard thing for a young official, because all you're thinking is, I can't stand that coach. I hate that coach. The first thing he's going to say to me, I'm just going to give him a tech. But it's the older you get, the more you realize that, yeah, they're heated in the game, and that, and it makes me upset when I'm reffing it, and things like that. But at the end of the day, that coach is putting in even more time than you are as an official, and he or she has a lot more on the line, and he's got to deal with parents, or he or she has to deal with parents, things like that. At the end of the day, after that game, I know what they're dealing with. And like I said before, 9 times out of 10, that coach is going to probably feel bad about maybe if they said something really out of line. And once things cool off, they're just like us. I've had dealings with the De Pere boys head coach, Bayport boys head coach, where riding me so hard in the game, and then after the game, give you kind of a handshake after, saying you did a great job. I'm sorry for what the things that went on. You know how it goes, and you know what I mean. So it's tough. It is tough, but the older you get, I've come to realize that the easier that kind of those things are to deal with, and you just kind of let it fall off your back. It's just those young kids is what I worry about. Is try to be easy on the younger kids, because if you treat them like that right away, the chances are they're not going to come back and do it again. So once you get old like me, and like I said, getting those gray hairs, I don't really care anymore. You can yell at me all you want, but once you make it personal on the basketball court, that's different. But I don't, other than that, I let it roll off my shoulder.
So, well, I appreciate your time, my friend. This interview was great. I hope you enjoyed yourself, and I hope that we can do it again sometime soon. Any other chance you're reffing or umping or doing something else, or you just invest in baseball time with the Twins?
No, I've been asked to coach baseball. That's my time to watch. I watch baseball. I like to watch my boys. My son Ben is a pretty good pitcher, so I really like to watch him. Charlie's a really good infielder, really good hitter, so I like to watch baseball season, because I ref football, varsity football. I got a full schedule for that, about 20 something games, not 20 varsity games, but I got every Friday night. So I like to enjoy my summers and things like that. So yeah, I'm off until football.
So if I know anything about my good friend, he's gonna blow all of that reffing money on the golf course, Eric.
Oh yeah. I mean, not all of it, but a good amount of it. A good amount of it will be on the beverage cart too. That's
all right,
do.
Ryan. Thanks, thanks,
Right,
buddy. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, I
Appreciate it,
had a
Ryan.
lot of fun, guys.
Thank you for joining us. Episode 4 is in the books. And thanks to Ryan. Thanks to Justin. That's Back to the Roots, episode 4. We're out. See ya.